Pivotal game happened in the Swamp today. Really felt like a watershed moment for these two programs. Texas A&M wins 33-20 over Florida. I think we can all agree, maybe not even that close. Texas A&M left some points on the board. Florida got a couple of points late. It was a sloppy game, wet. It was a downpour in the first quarter and actually into the second quarter as well. We had a lightning delay in this game. But Marcel Reed was the big story for Texas A&M. He gets his first career start, redshirt freshman. Connor Wegman ruled out with an AC joint sprain. I was nervous going into this game with Connor Wegman. When you told me that the backup was starting, I really got nervous. But I'll tell you what, the redshirt freshman stepped up, didn't make any mistakes really in this ball game, and Texas A&M ran for over 300 yards on the ground. They looked like the better team, head and shoulders above Sunbelt Billy and the Gators. And guys, it's another example of how Florida cannot defend home field with Billy Napier as their head coach. It's another example of how they watch an opponent come in, be more physical, be faster, be better, stronger, etc. And Mike Elko gets a statement win early in his Aggie tenure. Billy Napier, I don't know how he saves his job at this point. Basically, every day that he's still employed at the University of Florida, I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, this was, I think, as much as it was a signature win that you can throw on Mike Elko, obviously winning a road game for the first time at A&M since 2021,
Yep.
and finding a way to do it in a lot of style as well. They're, pick six in this one, and then, a massive bomb of a touchdown, 73-yard touchdown pass, which actually, by the way, I wanted to bring this up as well. Can either of y'all guess the last time there was a touchdown pass of this length or longer at Texas A&M?
I'm going to guess it was 2013 Mike Evans or Johnny Manziel to Mike Evans.
That was longer. So there was the last I found, I combed through all of the game records. Back in 2017, Kellen Mond hit Christian Kirk for an 81-yarder against Arkansas. So that was
Arkansas. That's right.
Yeah, so that was the only time that we've seen a longer one. There have been a couple that came close under Jimbo, but this is already the longest pass since before the Jimbo Fisher era to score. So that's I think a big step in the right direction. Clearly the offense was working for Texas A&M. Clearly things had gotten better. And I think it even starts in the first drive. Like, you watch that first drive and Marcel Reed finds ways to extend plays. There's problems, there's trouble, and he just finds a way to get out of the pocket, find a guy downfield, and keep the chains moving. I think from that point on, Florida was kind of just eyes on the quarterback and kind of got a little bit nervous about what the quarterback was going to do. That really opened some stuff up in the run game. And that big 99-yard drive where they just run the ball the whole time through a rainstorm and, it's just pouring down. You're playing old school rugged football. Offensive linemen are hitting guys and falling on guys and double teams and seals and crack blocks and everything else. It was a lot of fun to watch, just as a, kind of hard-nosed expose on how football should be played. But as much as this was, I think, a pivotal win for the Aggies and set a bunch of stuff straight, and you can kind of forget about the Notre Dame game at this point and keep moving. As much as that's true, this was also the signature loss of the Billy Napier era. I think this is the one that puts the nail in the coffin. I was in a couple of live streams earlier with some Florida people, and man, the vibes are in the toilet for the Florida fan base. I feel really bad for a lot of the fans that just want to kind of find their way back to some Florida glory days. But man, it is a rough time to be a Florida Gator fan right now. And some of the guys that were more connected into the program are saying it's no longer a matter of if, but when. There was a guy that apparently called the previous, I think, Mullins firing, and he said that he'll be fired maybe as early as Monday. So there's a chance we get a firing pretty quick of Billy Napier. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time this video comes out from the supercut, that will be, a little bit dated on that, and Napier will have been fired. So there's a chance that could happen. But no, it's unfortunate times for Florida. They didn't really do anything well. They swapped their quarterbacks at weird times. Mertz would look good, and then they bring in DJ, and he would struggle. And then, even if DJ got a little momentum, then they bring Mertz back in for the next one, and he'd go out there and kind of they'd flounder a little bit. It just wasn't a great day for Florida. Just a really long slog of a game for pretty much everyone involved. But A&M came out; they looked really good. Elko gets a win on the road. Elko gets a win after hearing a lot of stuff about, not winning on the road and, not being able to win games doesn't matter, and the offense is still a problem, and nobody can stop the run and everything else. And they flipped the script on a lot of those questions. I'm excited to see where it goes here for A&M. I still don't know if this was just a good performance because it was Florida, or if this was actually just a legitimately good performance, and this will stand up. So maybe we'll see in a couple weeks, and maybe Bowling Green puts up a test next week. But I think the Arkansas game in a couple weeks will tell us a lot more about A&M and what they can do this year.
Yeah, Trey, the offensive game plan for Florida was extremely confusing. It never really felt like we had a firm idea of who was going to play quarterback when for the Gators. On the other hand, Texas A&M's offensive game plan was very simple, but they executed it, and it was run right through the Gators front. We talked about the offensive line play in the preview show, how important that was going to be for Texas A&M, especially going on the road, an SEC environment. This was a prove it moment. Take it wherever you want. You want to talk A&M's offensive line, their run domination, Florida's quarterback play, dealer's choice.
Yeah, I'll hit both. I'll start with Florida because this was just a damning indictment on Billy Napier's tenure at Florida for me. Just watching him mismanage that quarterback situation. He said in the SEC teleconference this week, I caught this on the radio when I was driving home one day. He said it was explicitly said it was not going to be a drive for drive alternation. I don't know if he just said that to throw everyone off the scent, but he specifically said, like, I can go back and find the quote where he said, we have a plan. We're going into this with a plan. It will not be a drive to drive alternation. It was a drive to drive alternation.
And that was
the stupidest way to work in two quarterbacks. That is the absolute dumbest possible way to work in two quarterbacks. You deserve to get fired on Monday for that decision alone. That is idiotic, moronic. There's not enough words in the syllabus or the thesaurus for me I'll teach a dang class on it and have a syllabus. There's not enough words in the thesaurus for me to say how dumb that was, because neither one got rhythm. Neither one could get in the groove of the game, and neither one was getting to play to their strengths. DJ Lagway is clearly not ready to face an SEC caliber defense. He looked great against Samford. Get him out there for a couple packages. Do what he does best. Let him throw a couple bombs downfield with a little pressure. Let him run a little bit. Like, come up with some packages. What it sounded like you were saying in the SEC teleconference this week. Now for A&M, the offensive line is real, man. Like, I'm ready to say that through 3 games. Big improvement on the offensive line. Can't say enough about what the staff has been able to do. And a unit that was just putrid for 2 straight years, maybe even 3 straight years, going back to 2021. And I just can't say enough about the improvement they have. They took over this game on that 99-yard drive. It was a 15-play drive, 99 yards, took over 7 minutes of game clock, and they passed the ball twice, guys. One was a targeting penalty and one was an incomplete pass. So just absolute domination by the Texas A&M offensive line. The running game really knocked it out of the park. Florida had no answer for it. And credit to Colin Klein, too, for coming up with a scheme that was just confusing those linebackers. They didn't know which way to go. There was motion on almost every play. Mm-hmm. Everything you've been wanting as a Texas A&M fan from the offensive side of the ball, you got today. It was just a cathartic, awesome experience as a Texas A&M fan to watch that offense today.
What I saw, X's and O's wise, Florida's linebackers, boy, there are some names in that linebacking core. Shamar James, Grayson Pup Howard. They're not good at run defense. Texas A&M whipped them and
is it scheme? Is it players not following the scheme? Like, who knows? But it's a problem.
They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Like, every single counter that A&M ran. And in the second half, especially, it got to the point where it was student body left, student body right. I mean, Marcel Reed would just alternate which side he was handing the ball off to, and they ran that counter sometimes on repeat, and it didn't matter. I mean, the linebackers had either no idea where to be or just were not put in the right position to execute that scheme. I mean, I think there are so many issues on this Florida staff. It may be the most mismanaged team in the country. I've said that before on this podcast. I've said this before on this live show. But yeah, the Aggies came out and they did what they needed to do to get a win. I will say one thing I'm very concerned about, not necessarily next week against Bowling Green, although this is typically a script for how you get upset. by a G5 team, penalties. Penalties for the Aggies were a real issue. They lost Dalton Brooks, their starting strong side safety, to targeting again. So he will be out for the first half of next week's game against the Falcons. 13 penalties for 110 yards. 25 of those yards came on one play when they had a holding penalty and an unsportsmanlike conduct foul on TJ Shanahan afterwards. This Aggie team, they're playing with some more grit, a little bit more spice. I think you could see some of the Ags jawing with Florida players after a big hit, after getting a big stop. That's been missing over the last couple of years. It felt like the Aggies were kind of void of all emotion under Jimbo, unless Jimbo was, screaming at a quarterback. But they do need to be careful because, boy, when you play better opponents that are more buttoned up than the Gators, these games hang in the balance. And you want to put a game on a knife's edge, you commit a bunch of penalties, give up a bunch of free yards, and ruin drives. That'll get you in trouble in a hurry. So I need to see them clean that up. But an impressive win. We'll close on this. Next week is Bowling Green. Then you've got Arkansas after that, who struggled with UAB. So maybe not world beaters over there in Fayetteville. Call your shot. Who's the starting quarterback if all else is equal? If Connor is healthy next week, who's the starting quarterback for Texas A&M against the Bowling Green Falcons?
It looks like Marcel Reed won the team today to me, just looking at how they interact on the sidelines. And that's not to say anything poorly of Connor Wegman. He was on the sideline. They showed him a few times, hyping everybody up, giving high fives, like doing what you'd hope the starter that's injured would do. But, man, if you just look at the sideline, it looks like Marcel Reed won the team and provided a nice little spark today. I wouldn't be shocked if it's him going forward.
Yeah, I think probably, assuming everything's equal and Connor's healthy and can go, I think he'll probably play. And I think that you can kind of use Bowling Green to kind of evaluate both guys. And see that. I wouldn't be shocked if it's
probably use Arkansas too, honestly.
Yeah. Because
that they throw out there.
Because the thing that you don't want to do here, right? You don't want to say, "Hey, Marcel Reed played really well against kind of bottom of the SEC competition," but also let's not completely overreact to it. It's not like he was out there throwing for 300, 400 yards and 5 touchdowns or anything. Like, he had a good day, right? He had a good day. He provided a spark. He gives you something else in this game. He's good with his legs. He can extend plays, I think, a little better than Connor can and roll out a little bit better and, find guys down the field. I think Connor's a better pocket passer, but, I mean, for better or worse, Marcel did something today that was good, whereas Connor, he hasn't necessarily done anything wrong, but he hasn't done anything right either. Marcel did something right today where he got the team energized. He provided the spark, like you were saying, Trey, and, for that, you're not going to completely take him out of that spot. And so I think the worst thing you can do is mismanage a QB situation. And, A&M fans will think, back to 2015 on that one. So I don't think that this is the same dynamic by any means, but worst thing you can do is mismanage a QB situation. I think if you're the Aggies, the good news for you today is that you have a proof of concept that one of your quarterbacks can run this offense well. Maybe Connor Wigman can do it better. Maybe we'll find out that he can do it better in practice and everything else, and as we see the season go along. But right now, we know that at least one of the quarterbacks in that A&M locker room can run this offense and do a good job with it. And that should make Aggie fans excited because you really haven't had that since Kellen Mond found a way to run Jimbo's archaic offense. And, and even then, the offense wasn't really humming. It didn't look as fun as it did today. It referenced my 73-yard touchdown stat. It didn't happen under Jimbo. So it's been a little while since the offense has looked this fun.
Gators Online has reported that the University of Florida Board of Trustees has called a meeting for Sunday morning.
Probably need to approve some new carpet or something.
Surely.
Probably a facilities thing.
Yeah, new LED lights, I'm sure, in the office.
New carpet for what they're going to do to Billy and his. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think that Billy Napier is going to be employed come Monday morning. I doubt. I would also go with Marcel Reed for the record. I think the momentum is real, and you got to pick a quarterback. And boy, Reed looked good in the offense. So he's got to go prove it next week and the week after that. I don't think that he, like you said, Garrett, has done anything tremendous based on one game, but he didn't make a mistake, and he looked comfortable in the offense. Sometimes that's all you need.
Gracious, how about that?